Welcome to this bonus edition of Morgan You Asked For podcast. Sunday night, just a little after 9 o'clock. NCAA brackets are out. We're here to discuss. I know everybody else is discussing as well, but it's fun to do. And Trevor and I decided to come on as well. I know he's a little bit more tuned into the women's side. The brackets, Iowa and Iowa State are both in. And then for the men's side, Iowa State, Iowa, and UNI all play Friday. So Iowa State will be in a lone window. Iowa and UNI are playing pretty close together. So you have to have two TV set up for that. But overall, really good day for Iowa teams. You do wish Drake could be in there as well for the men, but realistically, that won't happen anymore with the Missouri Valley being a one-bid league. Hopefully it's Drake or UNI. This year it happens to be UNI. The last few years has been Drake. So it is good to see Ben Jacobson in the tournament. And then obviously Ben McCollum with the Hawks in his first year, getting them to the tournament, which is a success already. We'll see if he can do more with that. But overall, Trev, what did you think of first the conference tournaments and then leading into today? Conference tournaments, I believe this year did way more into it than in previous years. What do you think?
Well, compared to last year, I guess I'm not really sure. That'd be a better question for Zach or Tassel to answer. But I did watch the Iowa State game that you were at versus Arizona, and that was one hell of a basketball game. I mean, those final 5 minutes, you had threes left and right from both teams, and then obviously on that final possession, really good defense. But the guy just made a shot. I mean, it's like football. You can defend the receiver as best you can, but if the throw is perfect, what can you do? And it was good defense, but the guy made the shot. It was one hell of a basketball game, though. That was a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually talking with us today. I went to 3 basketball games last week. Monday, Carroll versus Pella. Carroll won by 1 point in a great basketball game. Wednesday, I watched Ballard versus Carroll. Carroll lost by 2 points. And then Friday night, I went down to Kansas City and watched Iowa State and Arizona in the best college basketball game I've ever been to. And you could argue that was the best basketball game of the season in college basketball. And you could make an argument that might have been the best Big 12 conference basketball game of all time. So I've seen great high-level basketball, great games, and high level is whatever you want to make it. But games that come down to final shots and kids making shots, it's unbelievable. I heard a stat in about the last 5 minutes. It might not be exact, but Arizona and Iowa State went 11 of 13 with 7 of them being three-pointers. Just unbelievable. Shot making. And Iowa State and Arizona are 2 of the best defensive teams in the country, and it didn't matter when you have that kind of shot making happen.
Yeah, whatever you said, 11 for 13. I mean, threes were dropping left and right. It was an amazing basketball game. I was sitting at home, and you thought Arizona they were starting to pull away a little bit, and then Iowa State would come down and drain a couple threes, and then Arizona makes a 3. It was just back and forth and back and forth. And like you said, it was one of the better basketball games I've watched in a long time. I don't know where I'd rank it, but again, as you mentioned, probably one of the better ones that the Big 12 tournament has seen in quite some time. I mean, that was fun. And then, of course, it leads into Selection Sunday. Obviously, we got the 3 Iowa teams, and as you mentioned, they all play on Friday, which is kind of nice. As you mentioned, Iowa State's got the lone window, and then Iowa and UNI sort of playing close to each other.
Yeah, so let's just get to it. Let's talk about when they play, where they play, and then we'll go back and break them all down. Iowa State is the 2 seed in the Midwest. They play at 150 against Tennessee State in St. Louis. Okay. Iowa is the 9 seed in the East Regional, and they play at 550 versus Clemson in Tampa. Now, the first thing that I thought of that is there's a lot of Hawkeyes, Iowa people that are in Tampa area for spring break, and they're coming home Friday or Saturday, and now they're going to be like, well, maybe we should stay or maybe we should go watch them. So I expect it to be a really decent Iowa crowd down there on Friday. And then UNI is a 12 seed, and they play St. John's in San Diego. So really far trip for them. Do not expect a lot of fans for either team there, really. St. John's all the way across the country, small private school, and obviously UNI just, there might be people in San Diego on spring break as well, but that's a tough draw for UNI. Kind of hoping they would get an Oklahoma City or a St. Louis just so they would get some fans could make the trip much easier. Not that they can't.
Yeah, for UNI, that's a long ways to go in St. John's as well. But the good thing is for UNI fans, if they've never been to San Diego before,
right.
I highly recommend going. San Diego is a beautiful place. The weather's going to be great this time of year, I would assume, like it is year-round just about down there. So if you're looking for a reason to go to San Diego for the first time or just go again, here you go. And we talked about it for about a month now or longer. You kind of got your wish with Iowa State going down to St. Louis.
Yeah, it is the perfect scenario that we talked about. It's St. Louis, Chicago, Indianapolis. Very much drivable. I like the draw. I mean, the draw, you never know how it's actually gonna go. But you got 7-10. Both. Can you get beat? Absolutely. If not, the 10 seed is Santa Clara. 7 seed is Kentucky. They're a blue blood. They've got great players, so you never know. But overall, they've been very mediocre, which is why they're a 7 seed. And, they're right around the top 25. And as a 2 seed, Iowa State from start to finish of the season has been better than them. And then, Iowa State has a history where, yes, they're going to be 22-point favorites against Tennessee State, but you got to go play. 2001, they got beat by Hampton. They've been upset as a 3 seed. Everything has happened to Iowa State. When you're in the tournament that much, those things happen. But I do think they get by Tennessee State, and then you should be a hard-fought game. It doesn't matter, 7 or 10. Win that one, and then you're looking at a Virginia team that is different than the Tony Bennett Virginia teams. They're very, very good. I think they're like 29-4. They lost today to Duke in the ACC championship. But they're a really good team. And when you get to the Sweet 16, every team, you are playing either really good teams or teams that are hot. Maybe they've won 5, 6, 7 in a row, won their conference tournament and playing really well right now. So everybody's playing really good basketball or a really good team.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent draw for Iowa State. I mean, Kentucky, that's not too far of a trip, obviously, for them to get to St. Louis. So that they're going to have a lot of fans there, too, I would assume.
Yeah, so, we've been to Nashville when they were there for the conference championship many, many years ago when we were in Nashville. And then we've seen Kentucky fans come to Des Moines, not necessarily when Iowa State was there, but just come to Des Moines and they overtake. And then last year when we were in Milwaukee, they were there. And, Kentucky fans are everywhere. And they will have a big time. It's not very far. It's an easy drive just like it is from Des Moines. So it will be a lot of Iowa State, a lot of Kentucky, and then Missouri is there as well. So it's going to be we looked – I don't believe we're going to go to St. Louis. I went this weekend, met several mutual friends of ours down in Kansas City to watch the Arizona game. And then Chicago, if they get to the Sweet 16, is very much in play. The problem with that is it's very, very expensive. I looked at tickets there already. You're talking lots of money for the tickets. Now you're seeing high-level basketball. You're paying for 3 games. So you got to take that a little bit into account. It was expensive ticket on Friday night to watch Iowa State and Arizona, but then essentially you were seeing like a Final Four. Arizona, Iowa State, and then Houston and Kansas. I mean, that definitely – it's not going to be this – but that could be a Final Four. So when you're paying, $150, $200 a ticket, whatever it was, or more, but those ones in Chicago right now, the upper deck are still $500 a seat. That gets a little bit more. So it's one of those. You hope a couple, the Michigan gets upset. That would help, I think. Kind of got to look at the bracket a little bit more and hope for some upsets and and hope, Virginia's fine. They're not real close. You're going to just get the diehards there, which would be fine. Iowa State fans will jump there. And then I don't know who the 4 was up there. I can look at the bracket. I've got it on my other screen over here. Just kind of pull it up. It was asleep, but maybe.
Let me see. Was it Arkansas or where are they playing at? They're in Portland. Yes, I know the brackets just came out like 2 hours ago, so it's kind of tough to remember where everybody's at. I've got the ESPN.
Yeah, Alabama and Texas Tech are the 4 and 5.
Okay, yeah.
So none of them would be real close. The 8-9 is Georgia, St. Louis. So somehow St. Louis would get there. Obviously St. Louis to Chicago is relatively close, but they're a small private school, so they wouldn't have. But I would expect Alabama or Texas Tech to have a lot of fans there. And then just if Virginia gets upset, Tennessee is the 6. Tennessee would have a lot of fans there as well. And it's not super far from Chicago either.
Yeah, Tennessee and Kentucky, like you mentioned, they're going to travel well in basketball. But for you, for an Iowa State fan, I really don't blame you for skipping out on St. Louis if you decide to, because Iowa State's they've had a lot of good teams over the years. You've seen plenty of first round, a round of 32 wins.
Yep.
So for this year, with Iowa State being a 2 seed, it's almost expected. And then once you get to the Sweet 16, that's where you probably want to drop your money if you're going to.
Yeah, and that's what I've been to going to Kansas City for the tournament's always fun. Had a great time there with great friends, who I was with there. Great friends, great time had, always is with those guys. But, I've seen the first and second round NCAA tournaments. I've not went to a Sweet 16 / Elite 8 game. So that would be just another level that I haven't been to. And Chicago's as close as you're going to get. For regionals is going to be Kansas City, St. Louis, Chicago. So those same cities that have those. And then the Final Four being in Indianapolis as a 2 seed. I mean, you're supposed to be within one game there. And Michigan is there. Michigan showed today that they got beat by Purdue, who Iowa State beat by 30. So can Iowa State get to the Final Four? Absolutely. They played really, really well in Kansas City. Hopefully this week off gets they work on things. I hope they're shooting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of free throws each. They all need to do better there. And they come out playing the same way and go beat Tennessee State by, 25, 30 points or whatever it might be. Doesn't matter. Just win the game. And then go beat Kentucky or Santa Clara. And then you get the Sweet 16. And we've talked about this. The expectation is to win that game. Doesn't matter who you're playing. This is the year we need to go farther than we've been. We haven't been to the Elite 8 since 2000. Haven't been to the Final Four since 1944. So those are the milestones that the Iowa State fans are, I'm not going to say expecting, but wanting, and that's where they need to get relatively soon, and this might be the team to do it.
No, I agree with you. I almost think it is kind of expectations, as you mentioned, that Iowa State, they do need to win that Sweet 16 game.
Yeah.
They've been knocking on that door for a number of years now. They've had a lot of really good teams and really good players. They've gone on to play in the NBA. So, no, I think Iowa State fans should expect that. They've got the team to do it. As you mentioned, free throws. That's the weakness of the team, as far as my understanding goes.
Yep.
So that's one thing that, as you mentioned, hopefully they're shooting plenty of those. But no, I agree with you. Sweet 16 minimum, but really they need to win that game. And then if you get to the Elite 8, that's a stepping stone. And then who knows what happens from that point on.
And they were talking, just everybody talks about they're going to be favored they'll be favored against Virginia too. So the only game they won't be favored in would be the Michigan game. And it won't be a big spread. It'll be, they were a 2.5 point dog to Arizona, and Arizona's right with Michigan. So they're going to be about that same. And so, if you're 2 minutes left and you're within 4 points and then you make it, it is what it is. Just like the Arizona loss, you played a great basketball game. The guy hit a shot to beat you. That it just as easily could have been, Lipsy's 3 to beat them. And it really wouldn't have changed your thought of the game except for being happier. Obviously you don't ever want to lose, but it doesn't change how you played. And, if you beat on a last second shot to go to the Final Four, it is what it is. And it just stinks, but that's where they need to get. They need to be in the Elite Eight Sunday afternoon / evening. And with a minute left to go in the game, they got a shot. That's what you want.
Yeah, that's all you can really ask for. I mean, St. Louis, I think, is going to, just looking at their section of the bracket, I do have St. Louis beating Georgia as a very slight upset. That would be. Yep. I do think Alabama could maybe give Michigan maybe a fight if they were to end up meeting them. Obviously, Alabama's a really high-scoring team if they're hitting the shot, really good guard play. So, yeah, most likely it's going to be Michigan versus Iowa State, but we know how these brackets go. I mean, there's always going to be an upset or two. Somebody's going to go down, but it does feel, to me, it feels kind of like last year where I think the Final Four is going to be a lot of 1s and 2s and maybe a 3 in there.
Yeah, I think, and
the Elite Eight too. I should say most of the top teams. I don't know if I really see a major underdog going a long ways. I don't know if you have one.
Well, because the difference today than 5 years ago, when that was kind of happening a little bit more often, when you had the George Mason and you had the Loyola Chicago, and it wasn't as long ago, but San Diego State and FAU, those teams were senior laden, for the most part, senior laden of players that had been there 4 or 5 years or maybe transferred, but they were all old. And the Blue Bloods, the Kentuckys with Cal Perry, and were all 18, 19-year-old studs. Like these guys are going to the NBA, but they're young. So it was old versus young. Well, now you look at Iowa State. Jefferson's a transfer. He's 23 years old. Lipsey's a 4-year guy, 22 years old. Milan's a 3-year junior. Buchanan's a 3rd or 4th year guy out from, and he played at Virginia. And then you got 3 freshmen in there. But the core of the team is old. And, Jefferson played at St. Mary's. Those Florida Atlantics, those Drakes, those UNIs, Heisey plays for, Iowa State. He could be on UNI's team, and make them better. And they still made the tournament. Those guys in those lower levels don't stick around because the big boys go pay for them. And you can't blame any of them. You can't blame Iowa State or teams like that to go get a guy that's proven it in college. That's the difference, is they aren't recruiting near as many high school seniors, because you can go get a guy that's proved it in college for a year or two, because for as good as these guys are, you never actually know if they're going to translate to college basketball, because it's different. It's longer. It's just everything's different. You got to go to class, kind of whatever. You have to do the weight training, the nutrition. It's just all different and so much more intense than high school basketball. And so if you get a guy that played at Drake, let's just say this year, Drake wasn't great, but they still have a guy that scored a lot of points. He goes and plays for Iowa next year, and he gets paid $200,000 more than he did at Drake, and he can do it, instead of recruiting the guy for Joaquin Northwest that you don't know. I mean, that's the difference. And unfortunately, Drake gets worse because he took their best player, and now they got to go poach. Well, they go get the freshman and hope he's really good, but then knowing that he's just going to leave after a year or two. Unfortunately, Drake is like a junior college used to be.
Yeah, it's just like the NFL, where high school kids coming out, it's like the NFL draft. It's literally a coin flip, and free agency is now the transfer portal. You're getting guys that are a known commodity. You've seen them for 1, 2, 3 years on tape at higher levels than high school, of course. So there's kind of that correlation there. Before we'll do our early Final Four picks on this. I know we're going to maybe go again Tuesday or Wednesday for our official picks.
Yeah, we'll do our regular. Yeah, for those of you who are tuning in tonight, we will come back Tuesday or Wednesday night with our official picks and our regular show, just like our normal Tuesday, Wednesday, where we go an hour or so, and we'll make our picks and maybe talk a little football and stuff with that. But yeah, tonight, just first glance. One thing I do want to say for those of you that do listen on Facebook and Twitter, on our Morgan You Asked For pages, there's a link to ESPN Tournament Challenge for Morgan You Asked For podcast. No entry fee to that. The winner I will get, depending on who you are and where you might be from, gift certificates from, if you're from around here, local businesses that I will try to support. If you are not from around here, something like I can get an Amazon gift card or something for you if you're not able to get in this area. So that's why I don't want to say, well, I've got $25 to, Casey's if you're somewhere not around Casey's or whatever. So it will kind of depend on who it is. And then so that is the ESPN Tournament Challenge. So you can find the links there, or you can just probably search on ESPN Challenge for those of you that are interested in that. And then just like everybody else, I'm sure I'll be invited to some, and then I'll have some others as well that have on. And then I did get that eliminator one going on ESPN. So I think we will not do that pools by round one that I don't even know if I actually sent anything out, or that splash one that we kind of talked about, but ESPN is doing it as well. So I just thought it was easier there. Most people have an ESPN account. So
yeah, ESPN's easy. As you mentioned, everybody's got an account, so that way you can log in, do your regular bracket challenge, do the eliminator one like you got going. I think that's really easy, and really looking forward to those. And then, the last section of the bracket we got to talk about is that bottom left. And we've got three teams kind of in there. We've got Iowa, Nebraska, and then we got Fran McCaffrey.
Yeah, so how about that today? So they had a kid score 44 today, hit a last-second shot. Did you see that three-quarter heave by Yale that hit the back? I mean, it was close to going in, and then obviously went to overtime. Unfortunately, they're 14 seed, so their odds are not good to keep winning. But how crazy would it be if he would win that game and win the next one and get to the Sweet 16 at Penn and could have never got it before?
Yeah, well, Ken, this will be the year that he does it. But what they say, this is his fifth or sixth team that he's taken to the March Madness.
Well, yeah. So, Iowa, now Penn, Siena, and I think UNC Greensboro. So that's at least four.
I thought they said there was maybe another on the March Madness show. That's a good question for Zach or Tassel that know the history a little bit better than I do. But yeah, watch this year. He goes and beats Illinois, the 3 seed, and then goes and beats North Carolina. Yeah. And somehow ends up in the Sweet 16 versus Houston.
Oh, and North Carolina's their best guy's hurt. They would be a 4 seed without him. So you never know. I mean, and Illinois is just streaky. I mean, I think Illinois could win the whole thing, or they could get beat by Penn. I mean, I think they're kind of that streaky of a team. But that's a team that I'm glad that Iowa State does not see at all until the Final Four, which then it is what it is. Actually, I don't even think they'd see them until the championship game. But yeah, I mean, that's a scary, scary team against an Iowa State. I just think it's a bad matchup. Yeah, really good guards. They skip it. They shoot it well. They shoot the three well. That's what Iowa State gives up. Iowa State will give you the 3-point shot. If you hit them, they're gonna beat you.
Yeah, no, Illinois can score up there with anybody, and good luck to Fran. I look forward to watching that game a little bit, seeing if he gets in a ref's face. That's always a coin flip with the Fran McCaffrey game. But
do you know when that game is? I need to write that down.
Let me see. I click on the preview here. On the ESPN, I've got the bracket pulled up. It still says TBD. So I know they've released all the time. I don't have them all pulled up at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So yeah, that's always an interesting one. I'm just trying to think any other teams around that would have some interest to Nebraska plays. Obviously, they're expected to win. Everybody's pseudo cheering for them. They are still the only team that has never won an NCAA tournament game that's in the Power Four. So a lot of pressure. I think there is a lot of pressure on them to win this game. This is probably their first one where they've really supposed to win. They've always been 8-9, 7-10, maybe 11 seed, and so for them to win on I don't know if it's Thursday or Friday, it'd be great for Fred Hoiberg. Obviously, never going to cheer against him unless they're playing the Cyclones, but. Yeah, and for our friends to the west, is what it is. But yeah, I want Nebraska. I'd like to see Nebraska win just to get that monkey off their back. That was a team I'd have liked to seen, opposite like a 3 seed opposite Iowa State. I think that'd have been a good matchup for Iowa State. They don't play a ton. Their defense is good, it's better, but historically they're not. Hoiberg's not going to always have the best defensive team in the country.
Yeah, if Nebraska can win that first one, then they're most likely going to play Vanderbilt. But again, I think a 12 beats a 5 almost every year, or a lot of years. So who knows in that one? But if they can win that first one, they potentially could see the Sweet 16 versus Florida.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then you don't want any part of Florida. I think Florida. I know they got beat in the tournament, but Florida's really good. Would not shock me one bit if they win the whole thing again. Arizona's really good. I mean, if I had to make my pick right now, I would pick Florida versus Arizona to go in the championship game.
Well, before we get to that, let's preview Iowa Clemson.
Okay.
Iowa's the 8-9 seed, which we talked about. We didn't really want to be on that, but it is what it is. You should have done better in the regular season or done better in the Big Ten tournament. Brett, I did see that Brett Foster said that Clemson's best player tore his ACL or is hurt, so maybe that'll help the Hawkeyes. But if Iowa wins that one, which they can, 8-9 coin flip type game, you get to take on Florida, which obviously that'll be really tough, but you'll have all the eyeballs on you in that one.
Yeah, and say
trying to take down a 1 seed.
Yeah, and Iowa has proven against Michigan, and they beat Nebraska. They played a really good game against Iowa State. They can hang there, and again, in that game, you want to have it with 1 minute left to go in the game. You're within 1 or 2 possession. And that's all you can ask for. And then, if you hit a shot and you get a stop, you win. If you don't, you lose. It's okay. And Ben McCollum's done a great job, and he's going to have a master plan. And it's just the execution of your guys. And the issue with Florida versus Iowa is Florida is huge. And I believe they've got the 7-7 guy or 7-8 guy out there. He doesn't play a ton. But they're really big. And then obviously that's kind of Iowa's nemesis. They aren't very big, but when you get to this time of the year, there's always upsets. There's always games that are really, really close. And you just hope you're that. If you're Iowa, you hope you're that game. That, maybe Florida hits the shot just like Arizona did on Iowa State. And that's what it took. And then they propelled them on to win the whole thing. Because most teams that win it all have a game like that. That takes a last-second shot, or, the other team misses a shot. And you want to have a chance, and you want to be playing your best basketball. That's the other thing, is you just don't want to go there and get blown out by 40. That leaves a sour taste in your mouth and in your fans' mouth. And then it will continue. If Iowa wins that first game and then goes and gets blown out, it'll still be. It wasn't a Fran problem. It's an Iowa program problem that they cannot get to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, we'll have to see on that one. And what did you say last week? Was it like 18% of the time at 8 or 9 beats a 1 seed in the round of 32?
I think it's less than that. I think I saw that wrong.
So maybe
I would almost guess
16%. But
I think I said that, but I do not think. I'm just gonna. Iowa's the 8 seed, right?
They're a 9.
Iowa's the 9.
Yep. And whatever the percentage is, when you have someone like Bennett Sturts, you give Iowa like an extra 4% just because he can overtake a game. So whatever the history is, add like 4%, I would say, for Bennett Sturts, because he could go for 25 to 30, 32 if his shot is fallen. So you give him a few extra percent when you have a player like that.
So this is according to Google AI, 9% chance that the 9 seeds beat the 1. 67 out of 74 1 seeds have won. So 7 times the 9 seed has won.
All right, I'm going to say 15%.
And then if you would increase that to the 8 or 9, I'm going to do that. 8 or 9 seed beats a 1, because really 8 and 9 are the same.
Yeah.
20. Well, I was pretty close. An 8 seed beats them 20% of the time, while a 9 seed beats them 7%. There you go.
Okay. Well, there's a chance. It's not like a 16 beating a 1.
Yeah. I'm surprised it's that much difference, that the 8 seed has a 20% chance and then the 9 seed is a 7. So combined, it'd be roughly 13.9 is what it says. How about that?
Yeah, I
So,
figured those
yeah.
percentages would have been closer to each other rather than that 20% compared to 7%. That it
Right.
feels like that gap would have been closer.
Yeah, me too. I wouldn't have surprised me if it was 16 to 13. But,
Right,
yeah.
right. But no, it's a tough draw for Iowa. But you got to take care of Clemson first. And
Yep.
as you mentioned in the beginning, there could be a lot of Iowa people down in Tampa. And the good thing about Iowa Hawkeyes is they know Tampa, they know Clearwater Beach.
Yep.
Because of going down to the Outback Bowl so many years. So
hey, yeah, you didn't go to the Outback Bowl this year or whatever it was called. So so now you get your replacement.
There you go. Now you got your excuse to get down to Clearwater. Did you want to do kind of a quick initial gut feeling of what your Final Four is at the moment?
Well, I think I'm going to give my championship game Arizona versus Florida. Again, not official, but that's going to be my pick right now. I'm not even going to give the champion yet. But those are my two picks to get to the championship game. First looks.
Okay, my first look on the left sides of the bracket, I've got number 3 seed Michigan State taking on number 2 seed Houston.
Okay. Yep.
And then on the right side, I've got number 1 Arizona versus number 1 Michigan.
Yep.
And then I've got Houston versus Michigan in the title game. And I've got Houston beating Michigan and Houston finally getting that championship win.
Yeah, so they have been to a championship game. They've never won it, correct? I don't believe.
As far as I know their coach has been trying to get that, been close so many times, but my gut feeling is I think we'll see at least 2 1s, maybe 3 1s in the Final Four, and then, like I said, maybe a 2 or 3 mixed in there. I don't know if all 4 number 1s are going to make it again.
Last year, all 4 1s made it. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and it's going to be real close to that. Like we had that conversation before and today that there's just too many of the great players are playing on the great teams, and they're all older. I do think hopefully we can start getting away from the 6-7 year guys, and get it down to 4 and 5 year guys, mainly 4-year guys. I think that will help college basketball a lot.
No, I agree. We get the COVID year out and all that type of stuff. And yeah, looking at this kind of quick bracket that I did, I mean, my biggest underdog that I have making the Elite Eight is number 6 BYU. So I don't really have like a weird South Florida or Kennesaw State or anything really going on a run.
Well, yeah, and then you look at BYU, they've got arguably the player that's going to be the number 1 guy in the draft. So that's not a shock. They make a little bit of a run. I do want to thank John Rorta. He's listening and putting into our chat. Ask where you guys got Duke going. I need a little more information on their injured players. That's going to be my answer to that. They're really, really good. They could win the whole thing if their guys are healthy. But when you got a couple guys going around on scooters in the tournament, in your conference tournament, it makes me worried a little bit moving forward, deep into this tournament. However, the deeper you go, obviously, you would think you could sit them for this weekend and then get them back. So that'd be essentially like 2 weeks off and able to play, but then you're out of rhythm and stuff like that. So that's my answer to that, John. And to be determined with their injury status.
Kind of the same here. I've got Duke going to the Elite Eight and losing to Michigan State. The reason I picked Michigan State was because of these potential injuries. So I didn't want to have all 4 number 1s. So I thought, well, Duke's a little bit injured.
Yep.
Maybe Michigan State could get through there. Kansas, again, Peterson. I mean, if he's going to play every game and play the full game, I'd like to pick them, but you just never know what's going on with the guy.
No, and that's a great point with them too. Teams you just can't count on. And Purdue's another one of those. They looked great this weekend. They looked great beginning of the year. They lost Iowa State and still looked really good for a long time. But then, they're 500 in the last 8 games, and I don't know. But they've always kind of choked in the tournament too. Yes, I know they've been to a championship game, and is that choking? I don't know. But when you're the number 1 seed, you get beat by 16 and 1 year, and then you get to the championship game, and there's just some teams but all it takes is you just got to win one game at a time, and you never know how the bracket opens up, and all of a sudden you're the 2 seed and you're playing a 12 seed, and now you get to the Final Four, and then one other guy gets hurt during the tournament, and now that it's you never know what's going to happen, and um, the big guy, and then you've got a great point guard in Purdue, and if he goes off, and it's just going to be a great game, and they could beat everybody. They proved that this weekend. They've been there, they've done that. Coach Painter's done everything he can in basketball except for win a championship.
Yeah, no, he's done it all. And when every year when I do these brackets, everybody does 10 or 20 or 30, however many you do on ESPN. And there's always a team I overlook. And, like say I do 20 brackets, like 18 out of 20, I'll pick this team to lose in the first round, and then they go on a run. And the one team I'm looking at is Louisville. According to Ken Prom rankings, they're 19th on offense and 25th on defense. And I think everybody just assumes that Michigan State's going to get through there. Maybe Louisville's that team that that really nobody's talking about right now.
Yeah, there's always teams that, and right or wrong, I love watching college basketball, but there's a team like Louisville. I've not watched more than 5 minutes of them this year, so I can't answer if they're any good or not. I really have no idea. So those are the teams, and there's a lot of people that watch a lot of basketball that know those guys and know how they match up. And again, it's matchups. Iowa State is going to give you the 3-point shot. If you go 14-29 like Texas Tech did when they beat Iowa State in Ames, well, Texas Tech's going to win that game. If they shoot like they did when they played them in Kansas City, then Iowa State's going to beat them by 20. That's just reality. Every team has a weakness, or you have to give up something. And if that team meets that or has that advantage, then you're going to win. And that's, if a team shoots 50% from 3, Iowa State's going to lose to them. It doesn't. I don't think Tennessee State's that team, but any other team going forward, if they shoot 50% from 3, Iowa State's going to be in it for a dogfight and probably lose that game, because that's what Iowa State's going to give you. If you can get that pass across the court and knock down that 3-point shot, tip your hat, and you move on and you go home.
Now, here's the real important question: how many lost hours of work are there going to be this Thursday and Friday from either people not working or calling in sick?
Well, I don't know. I'm on spring break, so I don't care.
Well, yeah, you've got the built-in reason to not be working, but you know how it is. But a lot of people are taking vacation, or a lot of people will be calling in sick, or even if they're at work, there's not going to be a whole lot of work getting done on Thursday and Friday.
No, I've been in school during this time, and now I teach PE, so you can integrate that into, hey, this is PE, but I just put the game up on the projector, and kids want to watch it, they can watch it some, and then we do our stuff, but it's on in the corner, and we talk about it, and if we try to get a local team that we're kind of all cheering for, but if there's not, then we talk about, hey, who are you cheering for, and just kind of make it fun. And yeah, I do the same thing in the Masters, and that's the one golf tournament. Speaking of that, how about at one time today in our little pool, I had the top 3 guys, and none of them won. McIntyre, Fitzpatrick, and Oberg were 1, 2, 3 on the leaderboard. I'm like, I got this in the bag. Nope. Good job, Trev.
Yeah, well, I had Cam Young, and I bet him. But this morning when I woke up, I did bet on Fitzpatrick and Victor Hovland. They were both 25-1, and they were a number of shots back. Well, I was glad I bet on Fitzpatrick because
he should have been there. He kind of choked, actually, I think.
Yeah, but when they were on 18, I was like, well, Fitzpatrick or Cam Young, I'm basically guaranteed money. So that was a nice win. The Players is always a fun, that's feels like the beginning of the golf season, obviously, now that they pushed the calendar around. So just this whole weekend was a great sports weekend, and really keeping on track of that. We'll get back to basketball, but we got the bottom of the 9th in the World Baseball Classic. I don't know if you have that on right now.
I'm not where I can see it, but
USA is up 2-1, bottom of the 9th, need 3 outs. So we'll see if they can get it done.
So the U.S. is ahead?
U.S. is ahead 2-1, and first batter's coming up. So
who's pitching for the U.S.?
I think they said, I just missed it because I was looking at the screen. Miller, maybe.
Okay.
I think. I'll tell you in a second when it pops back up.
Oh, that's all right. No, where I sit, I'm watching vicariously. I can see what's happening, but not really.
But it's been a great sports weekend.
No, yeah, and until we came on there, I was watching it, and Skeens was doing great. I mean, the Dominican pitcher, struck out Judge and Schwarber with the bases with 2 on and 1 out. And then the next inning, 2 guys that aren't as famous, they're really good players, hit home runs off of them. I mean, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. And it is fun. I understand the pitching is so difficult because all these guys are major league pitchers for the most part. And you don't want them blowing their arms out or getting hurt this time of year because you have a whole season coming up. But the emotion when you put the USA, or it doesn't matter what country you're from, when you put on your country's uniform, you just play differently, and you're playing for more than yourself. And it's a little bit of a joke in this because like the Italian team was all Americans. They just have Italian descent. All the Dominican players live in, most of them were born in the U.S. They do have Dominican heritage, and that's great. I don't have that as much. I mean, yes, if I went back far enough, yes, I've got German and I've got English. And so, I mean, yes, I could go play for those teams if they wanted me, but, and everybody could, but no, watching the best players in the world play baseball on the same team. I mean, you look tonight at the Dominican lineup, it's like, oh my word. And then you look at the U.S. lineup, it's the same thing for the Dominican pitchers. But yeah, that's just great weekend. Golf, baseball, basketball. The only thing you're missing is football. Well, and football is still, with the free agent signing now, I will be honest, they did kind of take a few days off for as much, they understand that Friday, Saturday, Sunday is really basketball centric. So they kind of take those days off, but I'm sure we'll start hearing new things again here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before it starts going again.
Yeah, but most of the big names, the big contracts always go the first 48 hours, and then it's value shopping. So yeah, a great weekend. Caitlin Clark's back playing basketball. Speaking of another topic that we haven't really even gotten into, I think she's averaging almost 13 points, 6 or 7 rebounds per game. They're kind of doing these 5-minute shifts.
Yep.
She started today. She didn't start the other 3 games, but they're kind of just rotating, getting it all figured out. But that's been kind of fun to watch too. So we'll get more into Caitlin Clark, maybe as time goes on. But I did want to touch on the women's tournament just for a few minutes.
Yeah, I'd say I do have the who they're playing and where they're at. Obviously, yeah. So we'll just talk about those. Obviously, and we've talked about this. The women play at home if you're a top 4 seed, which is a great idea. Get local fans there. So Iowa as a 2 seed will play FDU Fairleigh Dickinson, right?
Yep.
And obviously that's in Iowa City. And then Iowa State and they're the 2 seed, so they're 2-15. Then Iowa State's the 8 seed against the 9 seed Syracuse in Storrs, Connecticut. So they will be playing the number 1 team in the country, UConn, in the second round if they get by it. Iowa State's not playing great basketball right now. You would hope they win that game, and then you go play UConn and get beat by 50, and then you go home. That's the most likely scenario. But you're going to be in a dogfight against Syracuse.
Yeah, for Iowa State, they weren't able to get back on track this season. And you're right, if they get past Syracuse, that's the difference here with kind of women's basketball. The number 1 seeds are typically they're just going to dominate. So even with Iowa State having the players they do, you're probably right. I mean, 20, 30, 40 point loss. I mean, that's just the nature of the women's sports still in college basketball.
Yeah, there is a level. We kind of talk about around here, there's levels to this stuff. I mean, you can replace that word with whatever word you want. But there's levels, and UConn and UCLA and probably Texas. There's one level, and then everybody else is a little bit lower.
Yeah, you've got those 3, maybe South Carolina. Those are the big 4, and then you've got about 8 to 10 teams that are kind of grouped together in the next section. But those 8 to 10 teams cannot win the title, most likely.
Right, and I was in that next set. They're really good. I mean, they are. I mean, they beat top 10 Michigan a couple times. They've, but there's levels, and once they get to that level, so you expect Iowa to get the Elite Eight, and who's the one seed in their bracket? I did not look that far into it, I guess.
South Carolina, which that's
okay.
who I was hoping for.
Normally, that's the best one. That's the best scenario. I mean, it's still not good, but it's the best scenario.
Normally, you wouldn't be saying that about South Carolina, but Iowa having 2 home games, you'd like to think that they need to get to the Sweet 16, and then they're most likely going to face a TCU or maybe a Washington. Okay. So I think they could beat TCU. Their ceiling, though, to me, is the Elite Eight, because if they play South Carolina, I just don't see them getting past them. Iowa's got a lot of youth. Again, we've got Stolke and Kylie Feuerbach that have had some experience, and obviously in March Madness playing in back-to-back championship games. But to me, the ceiling is the Elite Eight, but definitely need to get to the Sweet 16 when you've got those 2 home games. I mean, Molly Miller for Arizona State is, they're in that play-in game, but that could be a tough one in the round of 32 for Iowa.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, they got pummeled by Iowa State regular season, but then obviously they pulled it out in the Big 12 tournament, so she's got it going on. So guessing the baseball has taken a turn, or just I pulled it up.
Yeah,
runner on second.
One out and a runner on second. The count's 2-2. So
okay,
the tension's high right now. But yeah, for the Iowa women, this would be great for the young players, the sophomores and freshmen, to get some experience. Hopefully, win those 2 home games, and then go play a neutral site game in the tournament and get that experience under their belt. Are
they in Fort Worth, or are they? What's the other one? Sacramento.
Sacramento and Fort Worth. I believe they're in the Sacramento.
Probably, because I would assume they would not play TCU at Fort Worth. I wouldn't think.
They're in the Sacramento area.
That'd be too much of advantage, I think.
Yeah, you're right.
With that, now, if they were the number 1 overall seed, then it is what it is. That's you earn that advantage. But since they're a 3 or 4 seed, they shouldn't get that advantage.
No. And then for me, for my Final Four, I've got all the 1 seeds making it, and I think it'd be UConn versus South Carolina. I've got UConn winning that, and then to me, it's either UConn versus UCLA or Texas. And UCLA or Texas, I think, is a coin flip. I believe Texas beat them earlier in the year. They might have played. I'd have to double check on that, but it feels like it's UConn versus one of those 2 teams. And the only question I have about UConn, which you probably shouldn't be one, is they don't play in the toughest conference. Right. So have they really been tested yet? But again, it's UConn. They're powerful. So.
He's only done this for 40 years and been in this a little bit different conferences, but he's been in this same conference for a long time. And that's why he goes and plays everybody in non-conference, because he knows that. And he's played all the best teams, and he's beat all the best teams this year.
Yeah, no, Iowa played them, and they beat Iowa soundly, and they played some other teams too. So no, I'm looking forward to it. I know Iowa's not going to get back to a championship game now since they don't have Caitlin Clark, but it would nice to see him get
get to the Elite Eight.
Yep, get to the Elite Eight and get those younger players some experience.
So, all right, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Kind of a good first look. We will be back Tuesday or Wednesday, and come back with our official picks and with a little bit more in-depth look at the brackets and more back to our regular show and everything. But how's the weather out there, Trev? We are in a blizzard here. We're not getting a ton of snow, but it is a windy son of a gun around here.
That was that way this morning, but come Tuesday through Saturday, it's supposed to be in the 80s.
Oh, and it's supposed to, like Thursday, Friday here is supposed to be 70s. So, I mean, it's not going to last long, but just kind of stinks for these first couple of days of spring break. So,
yeah, no, hopefully you stay safe out there. I got to get the golf clubs out. I'm going to be home Thursday. Depending what the basketball game is going on, I don't know if I'm going to get to the range, but I've got the itch and I want to go out there and start swinging the club around a little bit. And then, of course, with this baseball classic, we're down to our last strike. We need one last strike here. Can you see it?
I'm watching on my phone, so I got it.
I don't know. You might be ahead of me, or I might be ahead of you. But let's see if the USA can punch him out here.
Yeah, this is riveting podcasting, but it's all right.
I'm hoping it happens right here.
I know. Just like sometimes on the radio, like we're calling games or whatever, it's like you just kind of want to let it go because, I mean, they do have video and stuff. It's kind of funny, but yeah. Who's up to bat? So it's not one of their big guys. So it's not Tatis or anything. So we'll see.
Oh, they called it strike.
So strike.
Oh, that was low too, according to the little pitch
to the box.
Yep.
So
that should have been a ball, but we'll take it.
Yep. So U.S. moves on to the finals because I believe that was the semis, right?
Yeah, yep. And that should be in Miami, I think. And I'm trying to pull up who they might play. Let's see, World Baseball Classic, if my computer will load.
Venezuela or Italy.
Okay.
They play tomorrow. So.
And then the championship will be Tuesday night.
Yes, which makes tons of sense. Obviously, there'll be a first 4 game, but get that over with before the NCAA tournament. I mean, that is great thinking and scheduling. And I understand. I know they're doing that on purpose. But, yeah, that's just great thinking by baseball. Get it right out of the before the NCAA tournament, and then we ride.
Yep, there we go. So, nope, good preview in the bracket. We'll get back together either Tuesday or Wednesday, make our official picks, and we'll see what else comes up between now and then.
All right. Thanks, Trev. Thanks for this bonus episode. Thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. There's 15 people or so, 12 people right now. John, yes, I know the Jeopardy music came on while that last pitch was going on, but it is what it is. That's pretty good. So thanks, John, for listening. We'll talk to you later, Trev, and see John later here.
All righty. Have a good one.